What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another reaction. In this one, I spent 1,000 hours studying ISRO. Not sure exactly what it means, but it's a space documentary, so can assume it has something to do with space. What I found blew my mind. I'm so excited to dive right into this and find out what blew her mind, so my mind can be blown. Before we do, if you guys happen to enjoy, please don't forget to smash that subscribe button. Give the video a thumbs up, and if you like to support this channel, all you gotta do is hit that join button to receive your exclusive benefits. Let's get in.
Why do we go to outer space?
That's a good question. That is a really good question.
What's out there? And is it even worth it?
I think so.
So this video is different from anything we've done before, and honestly, I'm a little nervous, but it's a story that needs to be told. For most of human history, we didn't even know what our planet looked like. And now, today, we're out there exploring the farthest edges of the universe. But here's the thing that blows my mind most about space exploration: India. Yeah, a country that for many of its people is still a story of everyday struggles, and yet the Indian Space Research Organization, or ISRO, is contributing to the most extraordinary discoveries far beyond the reality we live in every day.
It's crazy.
It's a pretty huge deal because this isn't just about progress. It's about reimagining what's possible for all of humanity. And this is the journey we want to take you on today. And you will see it all. The people, their dreams, their spirit, the mind-boggling science behind it all, and how a developing nation defied all odds to reach for the stars and change the lives of millions.
ऊपर से भारत कैसा दिखता है आपको?
जी मैं बगैर किसी झिझक के कह सकता हूँ कि सारे जहां से अच्छा।
10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
So, I first of all gotta give a shout out to her channel. Y'all make sure y'all go subscribe and check out her vids because they are truly something amazing. Just like I got good. We're only a minute 50 seconds in. This is a long video we're finna jump into. I got goosebumps, excitement. Like I cannot wait to watch this entire video unfold. Like the way that she edits and makes these videos is truly something to behold, and I can't wait to see what the Indian Space Research Organization has done and the strides they have made and will continue to make.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Our story begins all the way back in 1940 at Cambridge University. And there's someone here you need to meet. He comes from a family of intellectuals, and his whole worldview has been defined by a deep curiosity and this unshakable belief in the power of science. His teachers call him brilliant. His colleagues, they see boundless energy. But nobody, and I mean nobody, could have guessed that this guy would become the father of Indian space exploration. What's his name? Vikram Ambalal Sarabhai. In the 1940s, Sarabhai comes back to India for what he thinks is just a quick visit home at Ahmedabad. He's literally itching to get back to Cambridge to continue his PhD in physics. But then,
World War II.
the war means that Sarabhai cannot go back to Cambridge. He is devastated. All his plans, everything he was working toward, suddenly put on hold. What now? Well, thankfully, his family is well connected and he gets to continue his studies under the mentorship of Nobel laureate C.V. Raman at the Indian Institute of Science. During his tenure under Raman, he once goes on a daring scientific expedition to the Himalayan ranges in Kashmir. He has 40 pack ponies and 50 porters carrying a lot of delicate scientific equipment. But something weird starts happening. The Geiger counters start going nuts, registering higher and higher levels of radiation. Sarabhai is confused. What's going on? After some investigation, he figures it out. 2 words: cosmic rays. What's that, and how is it connected to our story? Cosmic rays are high-energy particles that come from outer space. They originate from the sun or exploding stars and are constantly hitting the Earth at all time. In fact, millions of them are passing through your body right this very moment.
Are you
Phantom
serious?
invaders from outer space.
Scientists worldwide had been obsessing over these rays for years. But here's where it gets interesting for our story. So among all of these scientists who are studying this is another Indian scientist whose story is deeply linked with Sarabhai's and the lives of the millions of Indians they would go on to change. In fact, he's also studying under C.V. Raman at the same time. It was Dr. Homi Bhabha, the father of India's nuclear program. Bhabha and Sarabhai instantly bond over their shared interest of the study of science and space. As 2 scientists hailing from a scientifically ignorant country, the possibilities to them seemed endless. But back then, the thought of creating a space program in India is too far-reaching even for them. Even the US, which every one of us today knows as a space superpower, wasn't thinking about this until...
Today, a new moon is in the sky, a 23-inch metal sphere placed in orbit by a Russian rocket.
Yeah. The race, that started the race to space. To know that Vikram, though, this man is the father of, Indian space. It's crazy. It's just hard to, imagine, this 1940s, he's just hungry to learn about science and physics, and he just wants to learn as much as possible, and then he gets hit with these cosmic rays in the Himalayas, and he wants to know more about it. He wants to learn more. But to think about, space. This is space, bro. This is absolutely unknown to humanity. And the fact that humanity wanted to go, it's crazy. It's crazy. All right, let's continue.
Sir, what do you think about this achievement of the Russians?
I think it's a remarkable thing. My only regret is that we couldn't get there first.
The World War is over, but America and Russia, or the Soviet Union, have started a new war.
Yeah.
This is not a war of bullets and bombs, but of ideology and influence.
Everything is fine. Everything is fine.
Sputnik's launch takes this war into space, and America has to respond. So just a year later, they announced their space program called
The National Aeronautics and Space Administration.
But while the Americans are threatened by Sputnik's launch, back in India, Sarabhai is looking up at the stars with wonder, and then a moment of profound inspiration. He thinks, what if India also goes to space? It could help us create advanced technology which could potentially improve the life of every Indian. Now wait, I need you to stop and think about how far-fetched this thought is for a second.
Yes.
It's the 1960s and your country is barely developed, highly poverty-stricken and technologically backward. I mean, the entire country's GDP of $37 billion was smaller than NASA's budget of $65 billion. Forget about flying to space, we could barely walk. So, how do you turn this thought into reality? How do you convince the Indian government to spend money on going to space with political tensions rising and millions dying of hunger and poverty? Well, Sarabhai has an ace up his sleeve. Homi Bhabha has by now become the director of the Department of Atomic Energy and scientific advisor to the man who would help them fulfill their vision. A close friend who's not only a big believer in science, but also in a position of prominence in the government. This is none other than the former Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru. So Bhabha convinces him to set up a space research department which leads us to the creation of the Indian National Committee of Space and Research, or INCOSPAR, in 1962. Sarabhai has of course made its head, and to finally start India's space journey, his first ambitious goal is to launch a sounding rocket. A sounding rocket is a research rocket which is launched into Earth's atmosphere to collect data.
Oh.
You know, in today's day and age, rockets have become commonplace. But to really understand why this was a complicated task, you need to know how rockets work.
Okay.
Now, you've probably heard that every action has an equal and opposite reaction.
Yes.
When you jump, you push down on the ground, and the ground pushes you back with an equal force, lifting you into the air. This
Yes.
principle is the foundation of rocket science. The boosters of a rocket combust fuel, exerting a strong downward force that lifts the rocket upward. You can think of rockets as having two main components. One is payload, which is basically the stuff that rocket is carrying into space. This could be a satellite, a person, or a scientific device. The other main component of a rocket is everything else. The engines, boosters, computers, rocket fuel, etc. Essentially, it's all the equipment necessary to transport the payload. But here's something you might not know. Take a look at this rocket. What percentage of it do you think is the payload versus everything else? The answer, 1%. You see this part here? It's what the
1%?
other 99% of the rocket is carrying. So, why is there such a huge difference between the payload and fuel? Think about it like this. So you have 10 kg of payload and need 10 kg of fuel to lift it. Now, with that fuel included, you effectively have to carry 20 kg of weight. To lift this total weight, you'll need a little more fuel, let's say an additional 5 kg. Now, you're looking at needing enough fuel to carry 25 kg in total. This basically creates a feedback loop where more and more fuel is required to lift its own weight. This is why launching things into space is so challenging. It takes
all of that is fuel. Other than the payload, everything else is just fuel to launch more and more weight. And I guess as you get to certain points in the flight, those fuel like pods or containers start to drop off. And so that's crazy. That's legit insane. It is absolutely dreaming to think of getting to space when the country's GDP is at 37 billion. He said NASA had a budget of 65 billion. India as a country had a GDP of 37 billion, and this man dreamed of going to space. That's truly that's absolutely mind-blowing in it of itself. That's wild. There are so many people dying from starvation, but he is dreaming of going to space in order to help every Indian in the country, in order to help his people. Man,
he's a lot of resources and some very precise calculations.
Yeah.
How did they pull off this incredible feat? The story of the first rocket launch is my personal favorite. It's one filled with problems and failures and literally every excuse to give up. But what is also present at every step is the ingenious, creative Indian spirit, or for lack of a better word, jugaad. Of course, at this point, India does not have the infrastructure to support rocket launches. We don't have the rocket launching facilities. We don't even have the equipment. We also don't have enough people with the know-how. So Sarabhai has to take external help. He approaches NASA to provide the rocket, France for the payloads, and the Soviets for the computer. All of them agree. In fact, France even lends the payload for free. Then Punda, a small coastal fishing village in Kerala, is selected for the launch site. With the equipment ready and the plans laid out, now it's all about getting there. But nothing in the story comes easy.
Of course not. Nothing in life worth having.
The roads are clearly not built for transporting rockets. With crores worth of equipment stranded in the middle of nowhere, they have to figure a way out. And their solution? Bullock carts and bicycles.
That's insane.
The next big challenge? Convincing the villagers to vacate the place for a space experiment for nothing in return. Sarabhai approaches the priest of the local church to convince him to give them the area, and in the following Sunday service, the priest speaks to his congregation, urging them to consider Sarabhai's request. The words spoken on that day still echo in ISRO's mission. Science and spirituality have a common goal: to seek truth and to do good to humanity. How did the villagers respond?
I
The
love
stage
that
is
so
set.
much.
21st November 1963. A huge crowd has gathered in Thumba to witness India's first rocket launch. An assembly of ministers, all the scientists and engineers who have dedicated more than 2 years of their lives to this project, and the Indians tuned in via radio, all waiting anxiously as the countdown begins. They are 10 seconds away from a new era. This historic launch kickstarted India's journey into space. Incospar was renamed as ISRO, and Sarabhai hailed a national hero. But the timeless question was raised again: does India really need to go to space? Sarabhai had answers and had already set his sights on the next goal for India and ISRO. The goal was launching satellites and doing it on Indian made rockets. But tragedy struck again, and before he could see this become a reality, in 1971, he passed away at the age of 52.
52. No. There was still so much that he wanted to see. There was still life ahead of him. So much more that he wanted to accomplish. It sucks because as like a human like who has ambitions, who has goals, who has so much that I want to be able to see before my time is up. Because we get such limited time on this earth, like going early is just it absolutely terrifies me. But what this man did before he left was inspire a country. He inspired, so I have no doubt in my mind that although they may face struggles in the country, they may have went through hardships, that there was going to be somebody to pick up that torch and to continue to take his dream and make it their own and get to space. And I mean, we know today that they did. But that just kind of lets you know he was a father of science in India, and or father of space in India. I'm sorry. And even though he passed at an early age, I'd say he was able to leave that torch behind, to leave that inspiration behind for the next person to pick it up and continue with the work. Dang.
Just a few hours before he passed, he selected a young scientist who would go on to make his vision a reality and put India on the global stage.
I love that so much.
Who was he?
खेती के साथ साथ किसान पशुपालन करते रहे हैं और
What you're watching right now is an agricultural program that was broadcast across 80 rural villages in Delhi in 1967. It was to teach farmers about pesticides, crop prices and monsoon. Nothing like this was ever done before, and you know what? It is the longest running program in India.
तब तक के लिए नमस्कार.
Oh, wow.
But how is this program connected to our story? Well, this program was a part of Sarabhai's broader vision of using space technology like satellite communications to improve the lives of the average Indian. But Sarabhai's vision was no easy undertaking. After his untimely death, the mantle of chairman fell to Satish Dhawan, a humble mathematician and engineer from Srinagar. The Krishi Darshan broadcast paved the way for ISRO to conduct larger satellite missions in the 70s, and in 1975, they conducted the biggest mission yet. The Satellite Instructional Television Experiment, or SITE, was a project in which educational programs were broadcast across 2,400 villages, teaching rural India about family planning, agriculture, health, hygiene, and much more. This was the world's largest sociological experiment ever conducted and demonstrated the power of satellite technology and mass communication. Sarabhai's vision was coming alive, but it was still incomplete.
Yes.
See, to launch a satellite, you need to have something called a Satellite Launch Vehicle or SLV. This is basically the rocket that places the satellite into Earth's orbit, an exceedingly difficult task. Up until this point, we had to depend on our foreign allies like NASA and the Soviets for launching our satellites. NASA's Atlas 6 was used for sight, and the Soviets' Cosmos 3M was used to launch another satellite the same year, the Aryabhatta. But Sarabhai's vision? He wanted India to have its own indigenous SLV. This would be the next big leap in the Indian space program and would unlock the true potential of satellite technology. It was time for India to leave the nest. Remember the young engineer that Sarabhai had selected to fulfill his vision? His time had come now. Satish Dhawan approached him and put him in charge of India's very first SLV project. His name? APJ Abdul Kalam. Yes, the future missile man and president of India. Dr. Kalam and his team were tasked to create a rocket called the SLV-3 with the capacity to carry 40 kg of payload to be placed 300 km away from the Earth in low Earth orbit. To understand why this mission was extremely difficult, we need to understand a little bit about how orbits work.
Yes, please. I think it's like so incredible, like hours before him passing, he chooses his successor, the man that can take his dreams and turn them into reality. I mean, and they already had launch satellites. They had U.S. launch a satellite. They had Russia launch a satellite. But that wasn't the dream. The dream was for India to launch their own satellites, to launch their own rocket to space. That was the dream. And it sounds like he picked the right man for the job. But we know nothing worth having in life comes easy. A path with no bumps in the road usually leads to nowhere. So let's look at what challenges they face in accomplishing this mission.
So how do satellites orbit the Earth? Are they just constantly trying to stay afloat? It's actually insane how this works, so let's get into it.
I have no idea. That's a great
Take this
question.
Ball. What happens if I throw this ball? It travels through the air for a few seconds and falls to the ground because of gravity.
Yes.
Now, if I throw it with a little more force, it travels a little further through the air, but yet again, gravity wins down to the ground. But, and here's the insane part, if I throw it with just enough speed, precisely 7.8 kilometers per second, it travels so far up into the air that as it falls inward, the Earth curves away from it. Now, the ball is actually constantly falling, but the Earth is constantly moving away from it. Congratulations, you have successfully launched a ball into orbit. This is obviously slightly simplified, but this is the crux of how satellites work. They're launched into the air at high enough speeds such that they're just too far away from Earth to actually hit the ground. It's a cool trick of physics, making use of gravity and the fact that the Earth is a sphere. Now, the speed with...
Bro, freaking humanity, I'll tell you what, man. You can't... I can't praise humans. We're literally... Our species is literally geniuses, bro. Like, geniuses. There's no other way to explain it. Like, humans are literally the greatest species on Earth. Greatest species that, like, the ingenuity, the creativeness, the geniusness. Now, don't get me wrong, we have our moments. We have a lot of time we can be dumb and all that, but I praise all these people who were born here to push the envelope, to go even further, to do things that we thought were unimaginable. It's amazing.
Which it's launched determines the kind of orbit the satellite takes. Low Earth orbit, medium Earth orbit, or high Earth orbit.
Okay.
But if you want to leave the Earth altogether, you need to be traveling at a speed of at least 11.2 kilometers per second. This is known as escape velocity, and when you're traveling this fast, you have enough force to break free from Earth's gravitational pull without further propulsion. This is essentially how we get into outer space. Now, with the science all figured out, the SLV engineered, and the payload ready, we had arrived at D-Day. The feeling that day was reminiscent of 17 years ago when we had launched our first sounding rocket. The same anticipation, the same tension, and the same deafening, nervous silence. Ignition. Liftoff. The air is filled with the loud roar of the engines. The vibration on the ground can be felt miles away. Everything seems to be going fine, and then the rocket changes its direction. A slight dip in its axis. That's all it takes. Instead of heading upwards, it tilts and starts moving down, eventually crashing and drowning in the Bay of Bengal.
God
Silence
dang.
again. The mission is over. 10 years of hard work has failed. 20 crores, which is almost 400 crores today, has been lost. And the perennial question is asked again. Is this worth it? But for the people at ISRO, the main question was, what went wrong? A review committee set up, and it turns out that just moments before the launch, there was a leak in its control system. Dr. Kalam was even warned about this by his team. But since the rocket had sufficient fuel to reach its destination, he felt confident and gave the green light for the launch. You know, when I read this, I felt that this moment would have crushed Dr. Kalam's resolve. And it nearly did. But you know what? Instead of letting Dr. Kalam face the media, Satish Dhawan went ahead and took the blame upon himself.
What Satish Dhawan said, I want to support my technologists and scientists and staff so that next year they succeed. So he took the whole blame himself.
Now, despite the SR...
That's what you call a leader, bro. That is absolutely what you call a leader. You know what, right? I'm gonna take all this blame upon me. Nobody did anything wrong. It was my fault. That is a true and genuine leader, so that it would not crush the confidence in any of his staff, in any of the people that spent years dedicated to working on this rocket, so that next year we can do it. That is oh my God, I love this.
SLV-3's failure and the barrage of criticism by the media, Dr. Kalam and ISRO did not give up. In fact, it's something which you will see is constant in ISRO's story. This sheer resilience to keep moving onward and upward.
Yes.
Just 1 year after the SLV-3's failure, ISRO made its second attempt.
All stations stand by for the time mark. This is mission control. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This time, the rocket not only took off, but surpassed all expectations. It placed the satellite it carried, called the Rohini, into an orbit that was higher than what was planned. This moment made India the 6th country to have the capability to launch its own satellites in the world.
Next year, July 18, 1980, when he succeeded, Professor Dhawan said, you go and conduct the press conference. Do you follow what this means? It means when the failure occurred, the leader took it up. When the success came, he gives to his team. That's the first.
That is greatness.
You know, this
you couldn't have asked couldn't have picked a better successor. Couldn't have asked for a better leader. I'm sure, bro. Like the people that worked under him would run through a wall for that man, because you can't ask for a better leader than
successful launch of the SLV helped ISRO in creating more homegrown rockets like the PSLV and the GSLV. In fact, it was the updated model of the PSLV which was used for the historic Chandrayaan-1 mission. Chandrayaan-1 was a big moment not only for India but for the whole world. The orbiter which ISRO launched found the presence of water molecules on the moon's surface, a huge discovery for scientists and astronomers all over the world. With Chandrayaan-1, ISRO proved that India could dream bigger. The best, though, was yet to come.
Like, put a man on the moon, on the south side of the moon, which no one had ever done. but I don't know if that's going to be in this chapter. I just know that.
Approximately 3 minutes away from the predicted time when the spacecraft telemetry would reach the ground station.
If going to the moon was a big step, Mars was a cosmic leap. With
Mars?
Mangalyaan, we not only beat China to become the first Asian country to reach the red planet, but also put our Jugaad mindset on the global stage. While it cost $108 million for Hollywood to send Matt Damon to Mars, it only cost us $73 million.
Stop it. Are you freaking serious? Hollywood's budget for the movie was $108 million for The Martian, which was an absolutely phenomenal movie. I loved it. India's budget to actually go to Mars was $73 million. That's mind-blowing. What?
But more than the cost, what made the Mangalyaan success such a big achievement was that ISRO did it in the first ever attempt, which nobody has ever done. And it's pretty wild because going to Mars is no easy task. You know, this mission was made possible by the efforts of so many people within ISRO, but one notable figure was Ritu Karidhar. Her work on the mission earned her the nickname Rocket Woman of India. India landing on Mars also became quite the rage in foreign media. Some, like the New York Times, even congratulated us with this cartoon depiction, which was honestly quite racist and disgraceful, and they even apologized for it later. But it hardly
very racist and disrespectful. That was absolute ridiculousness. But none of that
mattered because ISRO had arrived.
Yeah,
India had arrived.
The Indian Space Agency has become part of an elite group of space explorers. It's also become the world's first no-frills, low-cost space agency.
But again, like every journey, not every turn was smooth.
What happened?
India has lost contact with a lunar explorer just as it was about to land on the surface of the moon.
God dang.
The mission's objective was to reach the lunar South Pole, something which nobody had ever done before because it's a nearly impossible task. But Chandrayaan 2's failure was only a minor setback.
Never gonna get there. Last year, bro. Last freaking year.
On 23rd August 2023, we achieved the impossible with Chandrayaan 3 when the Vikram lander landed on the south pole of the moon, creating history not just for us as a nation, but humanity as a species. The mission also marked the beginning of a new economy in India, the space tech economy. Over the last 5 years, ISRO has empowered multiple startups to provide key technology for space missions, such as specialized components for propulsion systems, rocket engines, and spacesuits. Sarabhai's incredible vision from over 60 years ago of utilizing space technology to improve the lives of Indians is still being honored. In fact, this has translated into real environmental and economic benefits for us. For example, fishermen have been able to save around 15 to 20,000 crores every year because the satellite information helps them save time and fuel in identifying the best place to catch fish. They've created over 96,000 jobs in public and private sectors and also received 1,100 crores in foreign exchange. They've also collaborated with the government to help predict weather, avert damage from natural disasters, gain insight about crops, and expand medical services in rural areas.
Crazy.
I entered this segment to share some news with all.
That's legit insane. Bro, they were the first ones to land on the south side of the moon. That's great. It's nearly impossible task. They did it. Bro. And India does it on such a much smaller budget. than everybody else that they've gone to, than the other countries that have gone to space. That is, bro. ISRO, ISRO, you guys are beyond amazing. It excites me watching stories like this. I know we got 8 minutes, so I ain't gonna talk too long. But it's just exciting to see like people overcome challenges, overcome adversity, overcome everything in order to accomplish things that people never thought possible, that were unimaginable. And that's what this story is. India accomplishing something that was unimaginable. Over and over.
All of you. So around 1.5 years ago, we started a video editing cohort because we had this thesis that we're moving towards a world where it's becoming easier and easier to build products but harder to get users. So distribution is going to become the mode. And you know, somewhere our thesis was right, because if you look at companies, founders, everybody is creating content right now. And honestly, making compelling videos, understanding the algorithm is now a legitimate long-term career. We have trained over 1,800 plus video editors who are now working with companies like Blinkit, Zerodha, Zoho, and folks like Ali Abdal, Nikhil Kamath, Tanmay Bhatt. You know, 80% of students who applied for placements have got jobs with average salaries of 4.5 lakh per annum. And I don't know if I can legally say this, okay? But honestly, anybody and everybody who joins the cohort is willing to finish the cohort, get their portfolios ready, we have a job for you. And we have worked very, very hard to create this recruiter network of 500 companies who are all hiring multiple video editors from us, by the way. So, you know, while we have so many people complaining about not getting jobs on the internet, I keep telling them, come to our cohorts, we can help. But then they say, oh, it's video editing. But honestly, that's where the demand is right now. And you need to be okay with a job that's not software engineering. And I'm not exaggerating, we have more recruiters than students sitting for placements as of now, and getting packages higher than engineering colleges. You know what? Don't take my word for it. Come experience it firsthand. We're doing a free masterclass where you can learn how to edit videos like AVTV, understand content better, get to know our instructors, know what the community is like, and see some of the work that our cohort students have done before. And more than anything, knowing content, knowing editing will help all of you build leverage for yourself. So come watch it even if you don't want to join the cohort, because you might just end up learning something new. I'm putting the masterclass link in description. See you there.
I gotta check this out, but I don't even know. Is it just for Indians, or like is it for foreigners, like that can join the cohort too and check everything out? I think learning video editing would help me to create a channel where I can just like do original content, like I don't know, content that I'd want to do but can't due to lack of funds to hire a video editor and lack of know-how to edit videos perfectly myself. I gotta figure it out.
From space, there are no nations, no borders, and no divides. Just one global community of human beings. And in that spirit, just like we were aided by our allies in getting off the ground, ISRO is now returning the favor. They've helped over 15 countries in launching their satellites. Most recently, they even helped Japan become the 5th nation to land on the moon. You know, starting from our first launch in Tumba till now, so many people have been key players in this journey. Scientists, engineers, astronauts, even the peons and the clerks, people who work tirelessly in the background, whose efforts we might never hear about. But as awesome as this journey has been until now, there's something more coming that you all need to wait for. ISRO's plans for the future are something literally out of a science fiction novel. And the future of space exploration is something that we might actually get to experience in our own lifetimes. We've saved the best for the last. Buckle up for a journey around the universe, because this is just the beginning.
I'm excited. I'm so excited.
In 2009, a report came out that an Australian fan of Shah Rukh Khan gave him a gift unlike any other in the world. It was a piece of land. Now, if you're thinking that doesn't sound very odd, you should know that this piece of land was literally on the moon. Now, as per international laws, no individual can claim legal ownership over the moon, and so the gift may have been a symbolic gesture, but it sparks an interesting question. Who owns the moon?
No one.
In the last
right?
few years, countries and even private companies have reignited the race to the moon. A big reason why they have restarted this race is because of what ISRO found during Chandrayaan missions. Water. The presence of water, according to scientists, indicates that the moon could be used as a base for further space research. For example, we could build an astronomical observatory on the moon. Because of no atmospheric interference, we would be able to observe the planets both within and beyond our solar system, find potentially habitable or Earth-like planets, and maybe finally get closer to the age-old question, are we alone? In fact,
again, humanity dives into the unknown, seeking answers. And because of India's discovery upon the moon, we may be able to find these answers. Are we alone? Is there other life out there? This is insane.
This is something that the chairman of ISRO also revealed that they are working towards. For instance, with Gaganyaan, ISRO is going to send 4 Indian astronauts to space for the very first time, which, if it becomes successful, could pave the way for them to conduct more human spaceflight missions. ISRO is also working towards setting up a space station in orbit, which together with the Gaganyaan could help us in pushing the boundaries of space exploration. Talking about pushing the boundaries, this possibility of making the moon a second base could actually make it possible for us to do deeper space exploration and take the next big evolutionary leap that scientists and sci-fi writers have been talking about for decades. That is becoming a multi-planetary species.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
But now, after all this, we come back to the important question we began with. Is this all worth it? Is it worth spending hundreds of crores of rupees to go to space? Yes. Especially when we have other problems here on Earth that need to be fixed. Poverty, hunger, injustices, the list goes on. We've already explored how these missions have helped us economically, technologically, and socially. Millions in revenue for the country, key findings that help with agriculture, telecommunication, and educate crores of people. These are undeniable. But I want to zoom on for a second. I want to give you an answer that's a little bit different, an answer that is, and I cringe at this word, but I truly feel it's the right one, an answer that is almost spiritual. What do you think is happening here? The answer? You see this dot over here?
Yeah.
That's Earth. That's us. It was taken by the Voyager 1 spacecraft in 1990 near Saturn from over 6 billion kilometers away. This image is called the pale blue dot and shows our planet, as scientist Carl Sagan put it, as a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. For me, this is what space exploration represents. It reminds us that there's a bigger story that we're all a part of, a story that we often forget in our day-to-day lives. And if we want to find meaning in our lives, it's important for us to know what's out there and how we fit into it. There's speculated to be 100 billion stars in our galaxy and over 1 trillion galaxies in the observable universe. As astounding as this fact is, it's even more astounding how quickly I forget about it when I have to go about my day. This is what space exploration means to me. A reminder that this bigger picture exists. Who knows where we'll all be 100 years from now?
This is crazy. Sky is not the limit. Bro. I don't know how far humanity's gonna take things before I leave Earth, but I can't wait to find out. This video was one of the absolute greatest videos I've gotten the opportunity to react to. Again, y'all make sure y'all go check it out. Y'all make sure y'all like this video on her channel. Run it up on her channel. Because the work that she put in and her team put in for this, something incredible. That's all we got. I love that so freaking much. I hope you guys loved it as well. And if you enjoyed as much as I did, please don't forget to smash subscribe. Give the video a thumbs up. Check out the next one. I'll see you guys next time.